Hello, podcast listeners. This episode of JJ Meets World features several guests. That's right, up to 4 guests and a person who doesn't say anything at all while we're recording it. It is about the North Dakota Apartment Wrestling Federation. We have members of the Valkyries of the Valley. We also have local creative people behind the magazine Art Riot and previous guest Scotch, Noel Anderson. Plus, Tucker and I give you some pro tips on not only scaling your fish, but cooking it as well. All of this and more on today's episode of JJ Meets World.
1, 2, 3, 4.
JJ Gordon, sort of like that Indiana Jones, in that he's always sniffing out his next adventure.
Yes, he is.
He's always interviewing guests so he can have them on his show and they can talk about pop culture, arts, and leisure. JJ has his flag unfurled and he likes his french fries curled, and he's fun and then he twirled as he goes to meet the world. He will march into the rain even if his ankle sprained. Take a peek inside his brain. This podcast is called JJ Meets World.
How often do you weightlift in real life? Like, are you going to a gym and like lifting weights? I know for a while, Tucker, you had weights at home, so you were doing maybe some weight training. How much do you do that still?
Not right now, no.
And why not?
Super lazy. Definitely not into the enjoyment of exercise, at least when you're first getting over that hump of starting it again.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've started and stopped exercising a bunch of times in my life, and I've had some periods of time where I'd start exercising and I'd actually go for a while and I'd get in really good shape, and then I'd lose out on it again, and I'm on the other side of that at the moment.
Do you know what keeps me from exercising on a regular basis?
I don't.
The outfits. I can never find an outfit that's good. And I'm a baby of the 80s, and so when I think of working out, I think of a loose tank top.
Buns of steel.
Yeah.
We had those videos.
I can never find the right outfit, and so I'll go in slinky basketball shorts, and I don't feel right during that.
When you say right outfit, are you afraid of judgment from other exercisers?
No, it is simply I can't find out for the outfit that is going to make me look like I belong there weightlifting. That's my problem. It's not the judgment. It's not shame-based. It's because in my mind, I've got this idea of what somebody who lifts weights looks like, and I can never find...
Like they have muscles.
Yeah. I've got the haircut. I've got the drive. I even know, like, what to say when I'm done. You know, like, oh, yeah, that felt good.
And you have the upper body strength. I mean, you know, you are a naturally strong person.
People forget that about me.
Yeah.
I'm very good at lifting heavy objects. Maybe it's my time in construction. And then I also think, too, so if I were to lose 100 pounds tomorrow, I'd be super buff because I'm used to carrying around all of this extra weight all the time. That my body's like, we got this, bro.
Like if you challenged me to an arm wrestling match, I would not accept.
Oh, yeah, good,
no, I'd
good.
say no. First, I know I'm going to lose. Second, I don't really feel like I got to prove anything anyways.
Side note, I would never, ever challenge you to an arm wrestling match.
If you ever did, I'd go, is everything okay? Are you okay right now? Is that someone hurting you?
Who has got your child? Like, is it a kidnapping thing? Like, what's happening?
Is this a code word?
Did you ever see the movie Over the Top?
I don't think so.
Sylvester Stallone.
No.
There's a great arm wrestling sequence in it. Yeah. Arm wrestling sequences in movies and television shows. We don't see enough of those. I think that weightlifting is one of those things that I didn't take seriously in high school, and I wish I would have paid attention to what they said when we were doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember I had a lot of leg strength when I was in high school for no apparent reason. But I remember lifting the heaviest amount of weights and doing like 4 reps and having some kids be like, whoa, did you see that? Did you see what JJ did?
Did you ever do leg wrestling?
No, like the one where you side by side 1, 2, 3, and then you try and pin the other person.
We used to do that in gym class in elementary school. Like there was always like a segment of our education in gym where there were like multiple small games that you'd be playing at the same time, and you're like, okay, you guys are going to do this, you guys are going to do that, and arm wrestling was one, and then leg wrestling was one, and I always lost at arm wrestling, but I would fucking punish at leg wrestling. And I don't know why. I think it had to do with more of like how my center of gravity works. And I've seen it before when I used to work in poker TV, and we'd be out at a bar one time, a bunch of guys were drunk and they wanted to do leg wrestling. And so they did it. And We had this guy who was like 6'4" and was really muscular and had a lot of mass, and he got his ass handed to him by Aaron Baker, who's about my size, if not a little bit smaller, and just crushed him at leg wrestling. So I think there's short
wish
guys.
I could have seen that.
There might be a short guy benefit when it comes to leg wrestling. I don't know.
There is. I'm sure there's something about, there's less leg for you to have to monitor, like to have consistent strength, right? You've got smaller, like it's like why a tall building will fall over in a windstorm versus a little building.
I bet it's the same thing.
Because they're closer
Same
to the ground.
That building lost at leg wrestling.
And then I noticed that when I go to the gym, some people are adamant about cardio first, weightlifting second.
Yeah.
Or weightlifting first, cardio second. And everyone's got a differing opinion. And
A little bit of cardio is happening when you are lifting.
right.
A little bit.
Yep. Because you're tearing muscles, right? And they say like you burn more calories weightlifting than you do on a treadmill.
I don't know if we're the two guys to talk about this, because I literally a few minutes ago, you downed a Diet Coke and I downed a Dr. Pepper, and it's 10 in the morning.
Yep. And this is my point. The internet has ruined so many people by giving them false opinions on things.
Okay.
And they say, well, I saw this YouTube series and it's this guy and he does this. And so they pretend to know a fact.
Okay.
When I would like everyone to wear a name tag that says, my name is so-and-so and I have real world knowledge of these facts. So I'm not asking some Yahoo about blueberries who's never actually grown blueberries, but he just happened to have caught a Martha Stewart episode.
Some sort of shorthand to understand that this person has expertise in a realm.
Yeah. If you ever watch like RoboCop or Demolition Man, there's this idea that in the future we'll have something like a Google Glass that when you look at somebody, it'll automatically tell you like, oh, this is their occupation, these are their hobbies.
And the subreddit Science, I believe, they have it set up where if you can prove you've got the bona fides, then next to your name will be a label that shows what area of the sciences you are actually an expert in. So like if someone is talking about outer space, it'll say, I'm an astronomer. Here's my, how I can say to you that I know what I'm talking about. And that'd be really helpful too, to have that on different ways in the internet, because there's so many pundits and experts out there.
If you had one, what would yours be?
Cheese.
Oh, I'd say grilling would be one of mine.
Yeah.
Here's a professional grill tip for you guys. If you like lemon on your fish and you say to yourself, ugh, I just haven't ever been able to master grilling fish. Salmon's great because they leave the skin on one side and you can usually let it cook and then get your spatula right between, the fish and the skin and take it off. But here's a pro tip for you. Slice some lemons, probably pinky thick, put them on the grill, put your fish on top of the lemon.
Oh.
It's not going to end up sticking to the grill.
How is it a low heat?
No, you can have a regular, so you can be grilling it alongside steaks, whatever it happens to be.
Okay.
Now, because it's not touching the grate, you don't have to worry about that sticking so much. But if you're one of those people who likes to finish your fish on both sides, you still need to be able to
even though I
get it
like
over.
fish, I like the taste of fish, I like to eat fish, it never really enters my regular diet, because if I want meat, there's usually some other thing that I want. However, at least once a summer, I'm at my lake cabin and I go fishing, and then I clean the fish and I eat those fish, and man, does that taste good.
I always was jealous of kids who had a knack for cleaning fish, because that's a manly thing that I never got into.
I didn't really learn how to until I was an adult, but now I can clean like a mofo.
There was like a fish hut at this resort we went to like every summer as a kid, and that was a fish cleaning hut, and it smelled so bad I never wanted to be close to it. And then I saw a guy who took some egg beaters, sharpened those up, put it into a drill, and then over the top of a fish and descaled it like a champ.
When I learned to clean fish, it was from my mother, who had learned from my grandmother. And the old school style is you take the fish, it's still alive, and a lot of people don't even kill the fish before they clean it, right? They just cut into it and start taking it apart. And one thing I've found is that, let's say you've been fishing since the morning, and so you got a couple sunnies on your stringer, and they've been there all day. and they might die while they're on the stringer, and then you've got this dead fish that's sitting in the water, and the meat gets kind of necrotic.
Yep.
That day. And one thing I've learned to do now is regularly at regular intervals throughout the day, throw your fish, once you've caught it, you know you're going to keep it, into a cooler with ice, filled with ice. And then the fish will expire in there, but then they'll be encased in ice, and it will preserve them until the evening. And then you've got some really nice, firm meat to cut into. It's a lot easier to clean the fish that way. So they've already died. They're not flopping around on you. The blood is coagulated a bit, and the meat has hardened. Much easier to clean your fish that way.
2 pro tips on fish. One from JJ and one from Tucker. Note, I didn't say guts once, but Tucker said guts and blood bunches of times in his.
I said guts?
I think you did.
Okay.
I don't know. I
think I
stopped
said
listening
guts.
at one point because I was thinking to myself,
I usually don't
about,
come
like,
into contact with the guts. If you're cleaning it correctly, you shouldn't come into contact with the guts.
well, where do the guts go?
I mean, you throw the guts away, like the
Right.
rest of the body, but you shouldn't. If you're filleting, say, panfish like a sunny, then you shouldn't need to even see the guts at all. Like they shouldn't come out because you're just filleting off the sides of the fish where the meat is. And if you're puncturing the stomach, you're doing it wrong.
Oh,
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah.
So if you want to watch the show from Nickelodeon, Guts, now that we've mentioned it, definitely
Craig.
do that after you're done with this.
Conquer the Craig.
So we talked about meat a little bit here, which is a good segue into our podcast.
Yeah, I have to go put that meat into the meat closet.
Yep, the meat closet. Let that be a new term that everyone likes. Trademarked right here, JJ Meets World Meat Closet. Our guest today, the biggest episode we've ever had,
As far
guest-wise.
as people, in the room.
We've got 2 members of the Valkyries of the Valley, Frisk E Business, Holly Handfuls, and then we've got Beau Fraase and Scotch, Noel Anderson, and they're going to talk about the North Dakota Apartment Wrestling Federation. You might have seen these in your favorite lavatories or in a free magazine section, or your son may be hiding them underneath his bed. Whatever it happens to be, you guys are going to be interested in knowing that the history of this, and then they're promoting an upcoming event. If you're listening to this podcast after the event, boy, did we have a good time. Wasn't that just wonderful?
It was fun.
And can you believe all the celebrities that showed up?
I know. Brad
It was
Pitt.
amazing. Yeah.
Brad Pitt, and then he came back a third time. It was weird.
Yeah, it was odd. I mean, I at one point was wondering, is he just trying to get attention from us? I don't get it.
Did you guys see my cameo in Deadpool 2?
It only took me about 20 minutes to film.
You could also think of this as sort of a precursor to another episode because we have big plans for a Burlesque Valkyries episode specifically.
Yep.
So this is sort of like a teaser for when that one ends up happening.
And so this is an episode you can find out some of your questions, but not all of your questions when it comes to the world of burlesque.
We focus mostly on the
dancing.
wrestling this time.
Yeah, which is interesting because people don't often think about a wrestling, like people don't think about, oh, I'm going to go watch a wrestling show with amateurs, and by the way, there's going to be burlesque show dances in between, but it seems like a great idea.
Yeah.
So sit back, relax. This episode of JJ's Meets Worlds, JJ's Meets Closet Worlds. I think you guys are going to have a blast. So let's kick this pig.
JJ Meets World.
Welcome to JJ Meets World. It's a special edition. Put on your thinking caps because we're going to dive into history right now. We're going to dive into the history of the North Dakota Apartment Wrestling Federation. Now, you might have to ask older brothers or sisters about this because the heyday ended up in what year would it be, Scotch? That
It's actually been around since the late 1950s. It's been about 60 years that the NDAWF's been going on in Fargo.
okay, and we also have a Beau in here as well. Beau, how did you get involved in the NDAWF?
Well, I was a big fan back in the day.
You have to be right on top.
I was a big fan back in the day, and I basically Scotch brought me into it.
Okay, that's good. And then we also have 2 competitors right now. We've got Frisk E Business and Holly Handfuls as well coming in here. And tell me, ladies, how did you find out about the NDAWF?
This is Frisky, and I needed an outlet for my aggression, I think I would say. And I found Scotch, and it just seemed like a good fit.
And I was easily pushed around, so I just kind of followed in suit. And now I take out my aggression.
Oh, that's great. That's great.
They actually had been, when we, we were approached a little while ago when we started doing Art Riot magazine, and this guy who had kind of been one of the early voices of the NDAWF got a hold of us. I'm totally thrown by that right now. Yeah. One of the early guys who had been kind of one of the forerunners of the NDAWF had gotten a hold of us because he knew it was a good time to bring the Apartment Wrestling Federation back because we've been seeing things like Glow was on the air and the WWE Superstars was kind of making a resurgence. So he's like, well, how do we bring the NDAWF back? And he knew that we already had this little underground publication going on. So thought that'd be a great way to bring it back into the spotlight. And we had to find some girls to fill the roles, and the Valkyries of the Valley had already been having this after-hours fight club, and so we were a little afraid to approach them because we heard that they're, roughing up a lot of people after their shows.
Was this open to the public? Okay, so this is after a show, so you buy a
Right.
ticket and you could possibly get beaten.
No,
If they were lucky, maybe.
you'd have to ask them about that.
Okay, so what?
We don't really talk a lot about the details.
Oh, the one rule of the Valkyries of the Valley Fight Club is you don't talk about the
It
Valkyries
was
of the
very
Valley.
underground, and a lot of people. I think they deserve to have their confidentiality protected.
Okay.
Some shit
Details
went
are
down.
only now surfacing.
Yeah.
Okay. So, so it starts in the 50s. It has a current resurgence. I've seen a couple magazines out.
Right. So here's what's-
Facebook presence.
Here's what's goofy. If you look at our first North Dakota Apartment Wrestling Illustrated, we reprint an ad that we had found. Our Art Riot archivists had found this clipping from a newspaper. And I think it's the Fargo Forum, but it was a local newspaper from the 1950s that was asking for athletic young women looking for a great opportunity. And the name on it is the North Dakota Apartment Wrestling Federation. And they're asked to report to HQ, which was downtown next to something called Stone's Piano Company. I don't know where that would be today, but that's the earliest record of it.
Are you an athletic woman? Are you looking for a great opportunity?
Yeah. Well, the NDAWF is for you.
One thing that I find to be so intriguing about this is there's a lot of role play involved in this. There's also a good amount of whipped cream in a couple of these, and there is a thorn in your side. Let's talk about him right away. Scotty Rabinowitz.
Yeah.
He's currently is he in legal action with you at this point?
He is a women's wrestling promoter from, I believe, back in the 1970s. He claims that he started the sport of apartment wrestling because he had put it in some of his magazines at that time. But the NDAWF was already going in full force. And once that started becoming popular around Fargo, he wanted a piece of it. And he started asking if he could buy in and if he could promote. And to this day, he's still pestering us.
That's interesting. I mean, he's a handsome man. He looks like he's never aged. That's
We've
what I
made some
like the most.
accommodations. Apparently, he's going to be performing at the Burlesque event we've got coming up on the 22nd. He's going to actually be doing the national anthem.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's kind of a big get.
As long as he can behave himself. I don't know if he's actually going to behave himself or not.
Doubtful.
Yeah.
Let's hope that he doesn't pull a Roseanne.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like grab his crotch and spit.
Yep, pretty much.
We'll have to keep
Have a
referee
Kanye moment.
Yeah.
So-
Referee Beau will stay on him and make sure he doesn't.
Let's put the conversation on you, ladies. How long did it take you to learn some of these wrestling moves?
I think I've been practicing since I was very young because I have younger siblings.
Gotta keep them in line.
Yeah, it definitely started with some chokeholds and some basic body slams back in the day, but really came into my own in the last 2 years or so.
And Frisk E trained in the Communist Catfighting League. She's also known as Nadia Business. So a lot of her moves are like the Slavic Sneak, the Brezhnev Backbreaker, things that we haven't even seen in this country.
It's pretty special.
They should be banned. I think they're illegal.
The moves themselves?
I've
You're a
never
goody
heard of
two-shoes.
them.
Whatever.
I've never heard of them.
Okay, so you're goody two shoes then, huh? Are you the wholesome American?
I'm Holly the All-American
blah,
handful.
blah, blah.
I don't know
okay.
if you've ever seen my outfit. It's the
There's
stripes.
not much
the stars
there.
and stripes. Exactly. America loves it.
The Stars and Stripes, good for you. Good old U.S. of A., right?
Oh, yeah.
When you did you previously own this outfit, or did you buy it specifically as a competitor?
I'd like to think it found me. Much like the sport.
Yeah, I think that's very interesting. And how about you? Any signature moves that you're rocking out there, like the Uncle Sam, anything along those lines?
Jeepers.
That's your move, Jeepers?
Yup.
Okay.
What's that one? The Liberty leg breaker, where you're like on their back and you're like pulling their
A
leg up.
personal favorite, a fan favorite, if you will.
It's not my favorite.
We all know she secretly likes it. That's why
Yeah.
she always tries to tussle with me.
I occasionally see a gorilla as part of this endeavor. Yeah.
Furious George.
So what's the deal with that?
Well, that would be Kettle Wonder's gorilla, the jungle one.
And she has her own gorilla? That's amazing.
She does. Well, Kettle came from the darkest continent. We don't even know what the continent is actually. But
'cause it's so dark.
Right. And somebody's got to turn some lights on there. But she brought this gorilla with her. And Furious George, sometimes you see him in a Hawaiian shirt. Sometimes he's, donning a referee's outfit when Beau isn't wearing it. But he's going to be out there at Burlesque on the 22nd.
And Beau, let's dive into this. As a ref for the North Dakota Apartment Wrestling Federation, what are you looking for? What's unsportswomanlike conduct?
Well, we have pretty loose rules
And morals.
and morals in the NDAWF.
Keep it right in your face.
Pretty much, I'm just trying to keep them from hurting each other too much, and keeping my eye on George quite a bit.
What are some foreign substances that you've found and had to remove from gameplay? I imagine things like salt. That seems like something that these women would be throwing at each other.
I've yet to find salt.
Really? Oh, well, ladies, here's a tip.
I think they're getting some ideas here, though.
I have my notebook. I'm ready.
Yeah. Nadia's notorious for bringing a chair into the ring.
Oh, my
Bitches
goodness.
had it coming.
I've seen
lit
many
cigarettes.
chains in my day. Many
Lit
chains.
cigarettes.
Yeah,
and out of the ring.
Yeah, I put a cigarette out on Sasha's ass one time.
Oh, my. So you're
It's an
you're
ashtray.
branding.
Yeah, literal branding.
Oh, my goodness.
We take it very serious.
I think when someone's talking about, like, oh, we got to work on our branding, like in a market, I always think, like,
You're correct.
right. Okay, good.
Like a hot iron on an ass.
Has anyone
The ashtray.
Has anyone tattooed the NDAWF logo anywhere yet?
Oh, I'm sure. Well, we haven't, but I'm sure over the years a lot of fans have.
Yeah. Would those people get free entry into your event if they have the tattoo?
They might be able to host it, actually.
We're barely qualified ourselves. Beau just got his referee license online like a couple of weeks ago. So
Right after the priest.
Yeah. You're online already. You might as well just knock it all out at
They
one
come
time.
from the same place.
And how many magazines have you guys put out so far?
you know what? The girls have all been in Art Ride for like the past five or six issues, and then we've also been putting the North Dakota Apartment Wrestling Illustrated together, which features a lot of those, plus different articles on them, and Scotty Rabinowitz, and there's one that features all of Nadia Business's nasty moves that she's done over the years, and
Take note.
yeah.
In the handicap stall of my day job, there is an NDAWF Illustrated that is it's the back side where it's the hot dog issue.
Yeah.
And it's been there for a good couple months. Mm-hmm. And it just kind of sits there. Nobody says anything about it. But I think people have come to appreciate it.
I do too. You know, I make a point of dropping off those magazines in places where people don't expect to see them.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Well, and it's true that handicapped people really do like apartment wrestling.
Oh, of course. Why not? I mean, I think everybody does. That's the point. And then who doesn't love a good hot dog? Could you explain what the image is, just in case people haven't seen it?
that's Beau's image.
Oh, on the cover of the Art Riot?
Yeah.
That would be my friend Sarah in the Stars and Stripes bikini riding a hot dog through space.
It's a very impressive image.
It really is. How did that concept come to you? Were you just like one day, oh yeah, why don't I just have this young lady riding a hot dog?
I was actually trying to see if I could get Sarah to pose like she was riding a hot dog. Yeah.
It came to him in a dream.
That's the type of
More
thing
of a fantasy, but
where really sponsorships. So are you guys seeking out sponsorships? Are you looking for I don't know, maybe like Squarespace or one of those other major online groups to come in and sponsor one of your events?
Oh, it would be great. The future's wide open. Right now we've got buttons, we got T-shirts, we got the magazine. If anybody wanted to come on board and sponsor, that would be fantastic.
Great. Okay. And you've got a whole bunch of buttons in front of us right here.
I do.
Which doesn't, play off as well on a radio podcast. Yeah. But this is the type of merchandise that'll be available?
Absolutely. And the magazine, the girls will be signing that. We got a couple of versions of the T-shirt.
Oh, see, this is impressive. I'm digging this.
Yeah.
I'm digging this.
This is going to be the first time that this has actually come out of the shadows. This is a very private sport. It's finally going to be out in front of everybody's face where it belongs.
So previously, these have all been in apartments. So did private, renters have to contact you, and then they'd set up a private showing that then would become part of your...
We're told that historically this is a very private sport. Half the time we don't even know the event is taking place until like 15 minutes before it happens.
We don't either.
Yep.
Yeah.
And we just get the call, and then Beau and I got to rush over there, and then the event is going down. Sometimes there's prominent figures from Fargo in attendance. Sometimes there's, one or two people on hand. You'd be surprised at some of the people that show up at these things.
And so now they're coming out of the shadows,
Right.
like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles in their first board game.
At the protest of some pretty big sports organizations in Fargo. I don't want to say any names, but the Schmeisen and the Schmedhawks.
Yeah.
There's a lot of organizations that are fearful that, once people actually attend an NDAWF event, why are they going to want to go see some stale old college football,
Now, this is your first event takes place at Prairie Brothers. But what I want to know is, doesn't that take some of the luster away? If you're not wrestling around a futon or near somebody's picture of their grandmother.
Yeah.
We bring in pictures of our grandmothers.
In fact, you should bring a picture of your grandmother too. We should all bring one.
Is that like the cost at the door? Like, just bring a picture of your grandma?
It's like a tip.
If you do, we would be willing to negotiate pricing, I think.
Okay. And so what's the stage going to look like? What's the event itself? Tell me about the event. Tell me what people are going to witness.
What is a Valkyrie show usually like?
Well, that's a spectacle in itself.
Usually we open the doors about an hour before the show starts and people can come in and mingle. We're usually out and about trying to have conversation, meet the people that come to our shows because we really appreciate them. But at this upcoming show, we're probably going to be a little more hidden, a little more behind the scenes, preparing because
you warm up, stretching.
Yeah,
I'm actually going to have to stretch. We're going to have to secure everything a little bit
taping our
better
leotards into place
because of, legalities.
Could you imagine if there was a Janet Jackson moment at this, a wardrobe malfunction? Everybody would be mortified.
Oh, it would be
I can
horrible.
imagine.
Do you
We
know
would
how
have to
many?
tell everybody to avert their eyes, and but we'll see what happens.
The good folks of Fargo would not be able to handle that.
I heard through the grapevine that the Pinkerton Agency, what originally led to the Secret Service, I heard that they're going to be monitoring this event closely.
Oh, in case there's an appearance of a nipple?
Or anything.
Let's hope.
They're going to be looking for inappropriate glances. That's one thing that was on their list, and of course, they come from a time when petticoats were important.
Do you think they're going to have a problem with my Russian background?
Oh, definitely.
Shit.
Although, but for a reason you wouldn't assume, because they're sick and tired of all the bears coming into the United States from Russia.
Bears are cuddly. Get
trying
over
to get
it.
circus jobs, taking it away from our good American bears. So let's quickly talk about burlesque a little bit, huh? Or not quickly. As long as you guys want to talk.
I will
about
talk about burlesque 24/7.
So why? How? Give me the history
Glitter.
of yourselves in burlesque.
Glitter covers the why and the how, I feel like. No. I love burlesque because it's just such a fun, creative outlet. It's a way to make a message and express not only myself, but how I feel about the world around me. Yeah.
Growing up a girl in society nowadays, it was really hard having body image issues and whatnot, and so it was nice have an outlet where I could go and be almost completely naked in front of a bunch of strangers and have them be like, yes, that's good. That's actually amazing. And me be like, what? I just had 7 McChickens today. Thank you.
Damn.
Yeah.
It's only $7 nowadays, right? That's on the dollar menu.
Oh, that's just lunch.
Oh, good.
But it's like nice to be in an environment where everything's like everyone's supportive, not just like the crowd, but the girls and boys that you perform with. And I just love everything about it. It's a nice outlet to like create a storyline and have people follow along with it.
Okay, so the one thing I think is missing from like the stripping world nowadays is pageantry, and that's what you really get with burlesque because you are telling a story, and there's some. It's all about the fun, right? Mm-hmm. And that's the thing that I think is like that's what sets this apart from like someone going to the club, right? Because you're going to be able to see a story, you get personality, and somehow it just feels more like, hey, we're all in this together, right? If you weren't here, I wouldn't be here.
As our good friend Michelle Pearson likes to say, there's a big difference between strippers and burlesque dancers. Strippers make money and burlesque dancers make costumes. And there's never been a more accurate thing.
So true.
Said.
And at this event, you'll see them in between dancing, busting heads. They'll be booty shaking and brawling, booty shaking and body slamming.
That's right.
Grinding and grappling.
And
I like that one.
Tussling and hustling.
We've mentioned my producer Tucker's dad several times on this podcast in different ways, but he's the one who hooked you guys up with wrestling mats on this, right?
That's right.
I'm not surprised. I mean this. Growing up, we always had a ton of wrestling mats, which was great as kids because my sister and I, and if we had cousins or friends over, we would just fight. Dad would put mats out. He'd basically pick a room, line it with wrestling mats, and go, get rid of your energy. And
I'm
that's what
actually
we do.
excited because we usually just wrestle on carpet, and that's a lot of rug burn and like bruises. So like a real mat, this could be.
What
this
are
is
you
a game
using for
changer.
like ointments and salves?
Whipped cream.
Baby oil.
Okay.
Yeah, baby oil.
But we're talking post wrestling, you're oiling up and you're
Both.
creaming down.
Well, usually it's involved in the fight, so it's just kind of you just use
you
what
just
you got.
rub it in, and it just kind of,
Nice.
Perks
soothes
of the
whatever's
job.
there. Yeah.
These guys actually have a stage. Have you even set up your stage before and used it for an event? Or
Not for a wrestling event.
no? So we're going to be setting
We've
that
danced
up.
on it, but
And
we've
then-
not wrestled on it yet.
So the pole will be there, the stage will be there, the wrestling mats will be there, the gorilla will be there.
It's going to be a lot to look at. Like, there's going to be just a fucking spectacle.
What about it? Can fans take photos with you guys too?
Oh,
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay. So that's something they shouldn't be, like worried about approaching
Don't
you.
be shy about that. No.
That's one thing we like encourage at shows is taking pictures, taking videos. We don't spend hours getting ready and making costumes for just your eyes for 30
We want
minutes.
that to last.
Yeah.
I imagine the only price is please tag us in them when you
Yes.
upload them.
Or tip
yeah.
us. We like tips.
Speaking
both.
of photos, the problem with the NDAWF and it being so secretive over the years is that the only real record of it is some wrinkled posters and there's some old newspaper clippings. Ann Bradley, since we've kind of done this resurgence and brought it back, she has been at every event. She's been taking pictures. She's been chronicling it. Yeah, I mean, so that's why it's been better covered in the last couple of years than it's ever been covered.
Well, that's good. That's nice, right?
Right.
You got to have something
She's
for
a
posterity
dynamite
there.
photographer.
When do personal conflicts find themselves in the ring? Do you ever find yourself working out some actual aggression, like so and so is 5 minutes late, or I can't believe that she borrowed my pasties without asking, and so now I'm going to take it out on her?
I mean, sometimes we take a right turn too quickly on the ways to shows, and I'm just like, well, I really wish I could just chokehold you.
So it does spill in then.
It does
plenty.
a little bit.
We maintain a good professional boundary, but, you need motivation. Mm-hmm. That's all I'm going to say. You need motivation.
Yeah. You have
When
to really dig
tackling
deep for
fuel.
that.
When I was a senior in high school, I had a friend who had an underground boxing league in his basement.
Oh, perfect.
We didn't move any furniture, so he had like a snooker table on one end, and then a TV, and then a bar. It was his parents' basement, and I remember boxing him, and he and I kind of had a friendly rivalry of like who's the best. And our timer was a microwave, so we'd set the microwave for 3 minutes and get going, and then when you heard bing, it was done. So I went at him, and my thought is I got this long reach, gazoon tight. Frisky's sneezing. You can't see it. It's adorable.
Sorry.
It's very muted.
I tried to keep it down.
I made this move where I stuck both of my hands out and I twirled around at an angle. I called it the tornado. And I was like, as long as I connect with something. And afterwards, like, they called the event a draw because neither of us went down. And I couldn't spell the number 7. I was trying to spell the number 7 and I couldn't. And I thought, I've got way more to lose than this kid does. His grades are abysmal. I am really hoping to further my education, so I'm retiring from boxing. And he and his friends ended up like having this underground boxing league for a long time, and I think a lot of personal conflicts came out. It does, doesn't it? Right?
Came out of it or were resolved by it?
A little of both.
Okay.
A little of both. Because of course, one aspect was you wanted women to come watch, and this is a chance for you to prove how manly you were in a world where machines are doing most of the hard lifting. And it's true.
Did you ever get any women there?
No. In fact, afterwards, I remember thinking to myself, like, I'm gonna just rely on my brain power. And my friend ended up getting a lot of women, but full disclosure, he's dead now. So who really came out as the victor here? I mean,
Shit.
if you're really gonna say it, right?
You played the long game and won.
I did, yes. I'm a big fan of the long con.
So I
is
don't
what
know
it
that
is.
Kettle and Sasha and Holly and Frisky actually get out as much anger and aggression as they did in their private fight league that they had. But this is more sanctioned. It's a little safer. It's still a good outlet for their aggressions, and we don't want anybody to lose their brain capacity because of this.
We did have a
Safety.
sleepover recently as kind of a bonding thing. We figured if we were going to do this show in public, we needed to at least be able to get along. So
Could you please describe the sleepover in great
some
detail?
shit went down though.
Other than Beau's amazing skin now after that mask,
Yeah.
They did a facial on Beau.
Really?
Yep.
Most of his face
It was my first facial.
it's mostly covered with hair. So how did you do a face?
Just-
I mean,
It's just like the little cheek
like the
area.
cheekbones.
his T-zone, of course.
It's the shiny parts.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
lovely.
You'll see it all chronicled in the NDAWF Slumber Party Massacre, which is in the upcoming October issue of Art Riot.
Spit take. What?
Yeah. That's
Yeah.
right.
Yeah, there's
Luckily, everyone was there. I don't know how that happened.
yeah, it's really hard to coordinate all of us to be in one place at once, but you've got all of us there in our PJs.
How many people are in Valkyries?
We have 4 and 5 regular troop members, and then we have guest performers that work with us regularly.
We like to bring in performers from the cities, or from like Grand Forks. We try to like diversify our guests so that everyone gets to like see new faces around here. But we like to also bring in Fargo performers too.
There's a burlesque performer / pro wrestler from the cities, Jacques Pau,
Yes.
who was actually an event, and Jacques got gorilla handled, and I don't know that Jacques will be back.
I think Jacques really wants to, but it's something that they've got to be ready to embrace again. I think it was a life-changing experience.
I don't think Jacques expected to see a gorilla because it's
You got
Fargo, North Dakota.
Furious
does
George doing the
expect to
banana
see
grabber
that?
from behind, and you're never going to be the same. And that's the thing. This sport historically has been a lot more conflict between the wrestlers. Mel Butterslide is a guy who's got some history with the sport, and he's been talking to us lately. Apparently, he used to take a group of girls, like over the weekend, they would go down to his brother Daryl Butterslide, who lived in Gackle, and he said they would barely get out of the car, and these girls would be pulling each other's hair and ripping each other's clothes off, and they would wrestle till 4 or 5 in the morning sometimes. And if it weren't for their neighbors, the Trumbos, Terry Trumbo would bring over turkey sandwiches. They wouldn't even have the strength to get through the night because they would just go at it.
I want their number. Can we do that?
See, that's the problem. When you love your friends so much, it's hard to want to just yank their hair. But
But you got to do it.
gotta do it.
for the
I'm
love of
willing
the
to do
game.
it for the sport.
And there are some past wrestlers that have been showing up at events like Mildred Clawhammer and Harriet Honeybags Gunderson that have been showing up and saying that this current batch of the NDAWF, the Valkyries of the Valley, they're the most talented wrestlers that have ever been in the sport.
What was didn't Harriet end up going and starting a restaurant somewhere?
Oh,
like
like-
down in Lake Lida, was it?
Yeah, hangers.
Hangers. That's right.
Her and
Yeah.
her husband, they had the home of the biggest breasts in town.
Yeah.
Biggest breasts on the lake, I think is what
That's
it
right.
was.
And they had that clown mascot, Saggy Maggie.
Saggy
Yeah.
Maggie, the balloon clown.
It's been years since I've been down to Hangers
Terrifying.
for a good meal. Get my hands on some of those breasts.
Juicy.
So good, so good. It's all about the breading most of the time. I don't know.
You gotta have the right ratio.
There's got to be a better way.
What's the correct ratio of breading to chicken in your opinion, Frisky?
Like
This is really what people are listening
Like-
for.
5 parts chicken, 1 part breading. I like a nice thin breading. What?
Oh, flip it. Flip that around.
So
Oh, you just want like a bread chunk with some chicken in the middle.
yes.
So really, your original recipe and your extra crispy then.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
What
Oh,
about
yeah.
what about a Colonel Sanders themed wrestling event?
Gravy.
Only if he's
Gravy.
like the crispy
Chicken
Colonel.
grease.
You like the crispy Colonel?
I like the contrast of the white suit to the extremely bronze skin because I'm very pale.
What would you think about wrestling in chicken grease? Is that a possibility? Should we?
Don't bring that up to Kettle Wonder.
No.
no.
Kettle's a friend to all animals, which is why she's the jungle girl.
Oh, so she wouldn't like chicken grease? Well, maybe we'll find
Mashed
some
potatoes?
peapod grease or something. I think their mashed potatoes even have meat in them at KFC.
Some
Some tofu
Coleslaw.
grease?
Does tofu make
The
grease?
summer slip and slam that we had, she spanked Holly with an inflatable alligator, and she actually apologized to the alligator. She felt so bad because the alligator's an animal.
Really?
Yeah, and that's how big of a friend to animals she is.
I was walking my dogs. This is a real story. I was walking my dogs and I bumped into Kettle, and she was like, "Look at these dogs!" And I was like, "All right, well, we gotta go now. I have stuff I need to do. Stop petting my dogs." And I could tell afterwards they were like, "Why do we have to leave that nice lady? You never give us that much."
She would have
attention.
let you. She would have pet the dog for hours if you had let her.
She would have
Right?
taken the dogs off your hands if you had asked.
Probably, right?
Or if you would have stuck around for a little bit longer.
Or a little
if you
bit
had
longer.
just turned your head for a moment.
Have you guys ever stolen anything? It's all right. You can talk
Wow.
about it. Yeah. Have you ever stolen
Personal
anything?
questions.
Was an
Someone's
accident.
heart.
Huh.
Aw.
Oh, it was
It's
an accident?
fine. It was an accident. I still feel really bad.
Tell us about it.
Oh, my mom's going to hear.
It's all right. I mean, if
That's
I'm gonna,
the thing you're worried about your mom hearing on this podcast?
I wrestle in baby oil.
My mom gets all the magazines that are hanging up in our house. She knows.
I love
she's,
Mama Handful.
She's proud that I'm finally strong in wrestling someone other than my sister. So we went to the library when I was like, don't laugh. It's terrifying. When I was like 9, and I had this book, and I was at my capacity for like books that you can check out because,
because you've got glasses on,
I
so
have glasses. I'm smart. I have to take them off to wrestle, so I think my moves would be a little bit better if I had my smart spectacles on. But alas, I don't want to break them. So we were like at our capacity, and I didn't want to leave this book behind for another 2 weeks because I wanted it. So I shoved it under my shirt, and I was like, no one will miss it. It's fine. And then I forgot because I had been hiding it in my room, so my mom didn't know I took it. I forgot to bring it back, and I had never checked it out. And then we were moving a year and a half later, and I found it, and I was like, oh my God, I stole it. I had every intention of bringing it back when I was done reading, but I had hidden it so well, even from myself.
If there was any question that Holly is the goody-goody of the group, and her law-breaking library stint there
There are
should...
tears in my eyes. I still feel really bad. I should call them.
What is
you
the
remember-
statute of limitations on this? Like, did you just out yourself?
No, it's never ending with libraries. Libraries are sort of like the underground casino of the book world where laws don't apply to them.
They should have like a book amnesty day. Like, you could just turn them in.
With a nice note.
with a
Yeah.
nice apology
But
note.
that's how they get you though. It's like when they say you've won Metallica tickets, but really you're behind on your child payments.
Are you familiar with that?
No. So you never gave the book back. Do you still have the book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's burning a hole in my room.
What's the book?
It's called Bliss. It takes place in I think the 70s. It's about this like girl going to live with her grandma, and
Her eyes are legit teary right now. She is crying. I'm not kidding you.
and she like befriends this weird girl at school, and then finds out that she's like doing witchcraft to try and like kill one of the other classmates, which was way too dark for me to be reading as a 9-year-old. But
Can
I was like,
borrow that?
yeah, I'll give it to you, but maybe not. Maybe I should
I'll
just
steal
send
it from
back.
you, and then you'll be free of it.
No, it'll still weigh on my soul.
So you didn't know this coming into this, but because you told that story,
No.
we're going to send a copy of Bliss to this library and repay your debt to society.
Hey, that's what
Look at
JJ
that.
Meets World is
That's
all
right.
about, right?
Exactly.
Making the problems go away.
By the way, patreon.com/JJ Meets World is how you can support this podcast and things like making libraries right again.
Make a stripper's dream
So
come
you
true.
can keep that book as a cautionary tale for yourself. Like,
The plastic cover's gonna haunt me.
good.
They have like the slip inside.
Yeah.
and it still has the card in it, right? Like,
My name, it's not even on there.
And you can just write mine, bitch.
I hope there's a librarian who lost her job because she got blamed for the theft. And was like, where's my copy of Bliss? The president gave us that copy of Bliss. Marjorie, did you lose this? You're
Fucking
fired.
Marjorie.
Well, the thing that makes me feel so bad is that I never even checked it out, so I don't even have a late fee. They're gonna ask me when I took it. I'm gonna be like, 12 years ago.
What's the compound interest?
I'm so sorry.
Tucker, while we're doing this, would you please look up on Amazon how much it is to buy a copy of Bliss? And then we'll even send a donation in your name that'll cover that. I mean, what?
Do you remember the author?
How long ago was this?
12 years ago.
Okay, so we'll figure out what the fine would be, and then probably cap it at like $20.
Right. JJ
You know.
Meets World, making
right.
problems go away.
Wow.
Yeah, and because you freely admitted. Also, you're the second person to cry on our podcast. The first person was Rich Summer, from Mad Men and Glow.
Wow.
Yeah. So apparently, whenever we talk about wrestling, there's going to be somebody. who
It's a very
cries.
emotional sport.
It really is. It really captures you. It really
Gosh.
pulls you in. Oh no. This is going to
Oh,
end up
God,
being
this
some
is-
super
this is
rare
an-
book
this is
that
amazing.
nobody
They're gonna, like,
that hasn't been published in 2
discontinue it.
decades.
I love
and-
it.
Well, we're all about helping too, because the event we got coming up on September 22nd. When is this podcast going to air?
Quick.
Very soon.
Yeah.
Okay.
Before then.
100% of the proceeds are going to charity, and they're going to a charity that's called Scratch the World.
Yeah.
And it's really more of a tax shelter that I set up, and I funnel money through, and I use it for buying pens and paper and computers that I use to make my art. So to entertain the world.
So to make art, you just need pens, paper, and computers.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
And
we're
these
gonna-
girls are all very big-hearted, and I know that they don't mind that the money goes towards that because that's the type of people they are.
Big-hearted.
I'm so sad about that book.
Well, don't worry. We're gonna make it. Was it hardcover or paperback?
It was hardcover.
Okay, that might be more
It was
difficult to
dumb
find.
thick.
It was what?
Dumb thick.
What's dumb thick?
Thick
know-
with 3 C's.
Yeah, it's when something's
It was
like
thick.
real fat with like a pH.
Oh.
What the youths are saying now.
Yeah, to describe to you what the cover of this is, it looks like a Polaroid picture that has got like a blue filter on it of a girl from the 70s, and then the word bliss written in what appears to be blood.
That is blood.
over her face. So
Shit.
it was pretty tough.
I definitely should have read that as a 9-year-old. Like, I think that was a sign.
very,
that's
like,
why I had too many
edgy.
books.
Yep, only one left in stock in hardcover, so we'll get that ordered today.
Oh my
Colin
gosh.
Gibbs.
Wow.
Yeah, this really made my
That
day.
was heartwarming.
I like doing something that's a little philanthropic, and also it makes me uncomfortable when girls cry. I know, right?
Oh, it's
because
gonna be
not a
like
lot of
us
people
at our
are
show.
buying it. You know what we should do is we should try and get a hold of the author
Oh gosh.
and connect you with the
Maybe
with
she
the
could
author.
sign it.
Yeah. We'll explain the whole situation, and
She'd be
she'll
like,
be like,
not for a criminal. Mm-mm.
well, yeah, she'll sign it for us because we're trying to make the world right. But you're
She'll
persona
be
non
like, I'm
grata.
sorry, my books cannot be sent to prison. It's one of the things that one of the places they can be, which I assume she's in jail now.
I've always wondered what books prisons get.
Not a lot. And they can't be hardcover. They have to be softcover.
Do they really? They all have to be paperback?
Yeah.
Because inmates
you
can
can
cut
fuck
themselves
someone
with the
up.
cover or what, beat
Well,
Bash
somebody.
someone's head in.
There are like a lot of things like you can smuggle them like things in through like the hardcover of a book. I used to work at Barnes and Noble, so like we would send books out to like Cass Clay, and like
I suppose like in the spine of it,
binding.
yeah.
But it's harder to do when it's a paperback.
So what kind of books were you sending to prisons?
There were some we were sending like cookbooks was like the weirdest one that we
Really?
had because I was like, where are you cooking?
In my toilet.
Was it moonshine?
It was a real good hooch.
I'm making toilet cookers for prisoners. I'm making a delicious beef bourguignon in a stainless steel sink attached to the wall.
I want to make that cookbook now. Like everything is made in a prison toilet.
But I do vividly remember one time a lady came in to send a book to her son or son-in-law, and she wanted the like Thug Life cooking, and it's like a bunch of swearing in it, and she's like, because he's in prison. And I was like, no, you don't understand, like it's all a cuisine. It's just like, and throw some fucking cauliflower in that bitch.
Yeah. Set it to 350, bitch.
I'm feeling like
that.
after Holly's All-American Handful bit wears out, you might have to become the librarian as your next wrestling character.
You know how often I get that because of these damn glasses.
Yeah, glasses really make
So
it.
don't fight it. Go with
and,
it.
And Frisky's wearing glasses too.
I know.
I mean, let's own up to it. But you've got sort of a Sally Jesse Raphael thing going on with those
Thank you.
glasses. Yeah.
Thank you.
Do you get that compliment a lot?
I do actually.
I just get that.
It is a compliment.
Dude, Sally Jesse Raphael was a boss bitch.
Whatever happened to her? Is she still around? Is she still alive?
I think she's alive.
our
She's
next
probably
thing to
just very
Google.
old.
Yeah, Tucker's on it.
I don't think she's not doing television anymore.
No.
I
But
mean,
that's good to get on Frisky's good side. If you're on her bad side, she'll throw you in gulag. So
I'll tell you all
Stub
about
out a
that.
cigarette on your ass.
the thing I understand about a gulag is it's Russia's premier zero-cost hotel chain.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And if you don't like it, it's 100% money back guaranteed.
You can volunteer to do some labor in exchange for getting to stay there. It's a very progressive program.
There's a local company that does porta potties and septic cleaning, and their motto is satisfaction 100% guaranteed or double your load back. And I always get a real kick out of that. Holy smokes, Sally Jesse Raphael was born in 1935. So she's 83 at the time of this
Damn,
recording. And it says that it doesn't say she's dead, so I assume she's still alive.
I think she's actually dancing. No.
Is she really? We
Like,
see if we can get her out for this.
Do you think
Frisky,
she'd come?
what is your real name? Shh. Holy shit.
Stay tuned for my skincare regime.
Oh. How do you
you
take
look
care of
great.
your skins?
How do your joints feel right now?
How do I take care of my skin?
Yeah.
I have
keeps it in a drawer.
yeah,
When she peels it off at night, she just soaks it.
I have some pretty exclusive Russian skincare products that are made from potato-based vodkas.
Sure.
There's a line of tonics that I use.
Borscht.
Yes. Yes.
The tears of her enemies.
A borscht bath, I think, is a pretty common thing.
You're lucky she's in her nice personality right now, because when she's naughty a business, oof.
I have coffee, so right now I'm nice.
But when she's
It's
got
almost
vodka.
to the end.
Yikes.
We need to wrap it up now.
I know you two, the two gentlemen here are drinking hot coffees, and the two ladies are drinking iced coffees. I think iced coffee is BS because
think you're BS.
It's not coffee anymore. Coffee is hot to me.
Wrong.
Because we're hot.
It's because you're hot.
We don't
Because
need to
we're
be
so hot.
We're hot.
Hot damn.
And Frisky's wearing a tank top, and you're wearing a full size like hooded sweatshirt.
But she's also not really wearing pants,
I'm wearing
and I have
booty
pants.
shorts.
Oh.
So
You know, we're opposites. We don't know how to dress for the weather.
Oh, interesting.
And
part
you
of
did this
being
so
a
early.
girl.
By the way, we appreciate you accommodating our church schedules so we could all still go to sunrise services and then come directly here. And that's what you guys wore to church. So.
sketchy joke about Russian Orthodox.
By the way, I hope everyone plans on tithing today.
Yes, of course.
So bring a check or several coupons that you got in the mail.
Oh,
I
Coubins.
brought some peanuts.
I see that in little tiny silver bags.
Yes, my sister got married recently.
On a Friday, you said, right?
Yes, just this past Friday. And I have a tendency to put snacks in my purse and then forget about them. And I took a bunch of peanuts when I left the wedding, and they are still there now.
So you took your sister's nuts,
Yeah,
and now you're trying to push them on us. It's
obviously.
greatly appreciated.
Yeah, they're very
because-
salty.
Oh, good. And I noticed that they're like it's full on bridge mix. It's not
Yeah.
just peanuts. What is there? An
No.
almond I see
No,
in there.
there's almonds. There's a filbert. There's a
Are there cashews in there?
couple.
A couple, yeah. She
We're
probably
not
cheaped
made out of
out
money.
on that.
Like,
Yeah.
let's be real.
That's how I can tell how fancy a party
I
is by
picked
the
all the
amount
cashews
of cashews that are in the bridge mix. In one of our previous podcasts, I talked about how my grandmother made Chex Mix before the Chex Corporation started making Chex Mix.
Your grandma's a hipster.
She's the originator.
The original.
Wow.
Right, yeah. And we call them scrambles. And my mom would put peanuts in when we were growing up when, times were tight. And now I make that same thing about once a year, and I'm throwing cashews in there. Because we got
Big
a Costco
spender.
nearby. I know. But I don't
Oh,
give them to
Costco.
everybody. For example, I brought them in last week, and I ate them exclusively myself rather than sharing them with our other guests.
You just need people to know that you have that status.
Yes.
I was just thinking, I'm still stuck on the Costco. How bougie is your Patreon?
No. Well, we don't have a JJ Meets World account at Costco. I wish we could. If you'd like to donate that to us, you can find us at patreon.com/JJ Meets World.
And please send us money instead of old meat.
Not that we don't appreciate the old meat, but at this point, we get it. You want to meet up, and we get it. It's a funny pun, but it's starting to make the dumpster
You got a
stink.
whole when the closet. You got a whole closet full of old meat.
I know. Can you believe it? Look at this closet.
Yep. They call it the meat closet.
It's just full of ribeye and hot dogs.
That's rude to call
That's
Holly.
actually the one that she wrote. Oh,
The old meat closet.
that was a family nickname. I don't like the way
I
you
think we
used
just found
that.
the episode title.
The old meat closet. Yeah.
Hey, we're diving into my psyche today.
Okay,
Didn't
so
know you're getting a free therapy session.
if you're listening to this podcast before the event, what are the details? If you're listening to it after the event, you should probably go online and find out when the next one is.
Right.
Yeah, so the event is September 22nd. Prairie Brothers Brewing Company. Show starts at 9. Doors will open at 8.
And you'll want to get there early because there's plenty of merchandise you're going to want to spend your hard-earned money on. Because how can you remember the show without a button and a T-shirt
Right.
and a copy of the North Dakota Department Wrestling magazine?
We're going to have Sharpies with, so we can sign your copies of the magazine. It's kind of like a catch 'em all. You got to collect all our signatures kind of thing.
The biggest complaint people have had is the obstacle of trying to track down a place where these events are happening. Well, we're finally telling you. So since you've been begging, here's the place to go. This is your chance to see it.
Can people buy tickets in advance? I imagine this is going to be a sellout type of event.
I really think it will be where they've been flying off the shelves. So if you go to our Facebook page for Burlesque, look up NDAWF or Valkyries of the Valley, there is an event and there is a ticket link on that page as well.
Big
Cool
question
beans.
on everybody's lips is, will referee Beau be wearing pants?
No.
You heard it here, folks.
Something else to see.
Thank
This
you.
is a,
neither
this
will
is
we.
a pantsless event.
This is what I prayed for at church this morning.
Oh, was it? You went to church before you even got here?
Well, and then we're
Oh,
going to go
yeah.
after.
Oh, sure. Probably like
Twofer.
one of you is Methodist and the other's Lutheran, and so you just
I'm
swap
both.
back and forth. You're both.
Covering my bases.
I'm pescatarian.
Oh. I hear that they've got a lot of followers, but very few actual brick and mortar
Yeah,
churches.
our church smelled amazing. I'll tell you that.
What did I wanted to end with? Oh, I wanted to end with this. So, what's your favorite wrestling movie or rap song, or what's your favorite piece of wrestling media outside of the NDAWF?
Okay, well, earlier this summer, we got to actually go see wrestling in real life. And that was, like, I don't know if that counts as media because I saw it in real life.
WWE.
Yeah, it was a total fucking game changer. And I think that really propelled Holly and I to, like, bring our wrestling game to the next level, like, seeing where we could be in a few years.
In a few days.
In a few days. Yeah.
So it's interesting because that's the exact same phrase that kids 10-year-old boys my age said, like, I got to see wrestling and now I want to be a professional wrestler. But you're a full-grown adult.
You're 10. What is
So-
your skincare routine?
Oh, my skincare routine?
Yes.
It's mainly butter-based, but not the butter you'd assume. A
Okay.
very odd butter.
Duck butter.
Yeah, it's duck butter. Also, I've had a long conversation. Do you know, like, why aren't we milking more animals and, like, different animals? Like, you can milk a pig, but we're not drinking pig's milk.
Why
Why not?
aren't we drinking pig milk? I don't know.
Right.
Probably doesn't taste good. What if it tasted like bacon, guys?
Oh,
See, That's the question you want, right? Name a pork
That's all I
product that
can-
isn't good. There's none of them. They're all great. So why wouldn't pig's
Okay, but
milk be
pork rinds
great?
give me hiccups.
That's technically not a pork product.
It is a pork product.
That's like the bacon grease that they pulled out of the pan, and they're like, we're just gonna rub. Some
Okay,
of this
clearly
down
JJ and I have some
cornmeal.
beef to work through after we quit recording.
Oh, we've got some pork to work through. What about you guys? Come on, let's talk about some.
When I was young, I saw a movie with Peter Falk that was called All the Marbles.
Yeah.
It was about like this road manager that takes these two female wrestlers out on the road, and they treat in the movie they totally treat it like a legitimate sport. And I remember as a young man even thinking, there's something very interesting about these women wrestling. I don't know what it is that intrigues me so much, but I've always loved that sport, female wrestling in particular.
That's just making me think of R. Crumb and the stories of like his mother having a friend over wearing cowboy boots,
Right.
And he was four years
And
old,
then riding those
and
boots
riding
in
the
the
cowboy
closet.
boots and going like something feels funny.
I don't know why I'm.
And I feel funny, and then like that carried on into his adult life, where a lot of his art is like, very
Leggy women.
Amazonian, strong women who
They're
he can
modeled after
ride
me.
on their back. Which I love the photos of him just asking women if he can ride on their back. It's the best thing ever.
I tell you what, if you would have told me when I was a 12-year-old boy that one day I would be hosting a female wrestling event, I wouldn't have believed you, and I'm so excited that I am.
Now, if you could just
we
go-
love being involved in the
You go back in
NDAWF.
time and tell a young version of yourself, Scotch, and then you'd also be like, "Listen, and stick with the hair. It's gonna,
It's working
gonna
for
work.
you.
It's gonna work." And who cares if people call you an outdated Billy
Right,
Idol?
just stay with it.
You know, Beau, how about you? Any wrestling pieces that you enjoy?
Well, actually, I was going to ask Tucker if you said you had wrestling mats around your place all the time, and that you and your sister would wrestle on them. What is your sister doing now? We've got openings maybe here.
yeah. If she weren't teaching in Pirate, Kansas, Arkansas, then she'd probably be wrestling in your federation. But unfortunately, she's making something of her life.
I mean, I don't know if she's been wrestling Tucker for like her whole life. I don't know if I'd
She's
want to
probably
like
not like up
mess
to
with
our.
her.
No, I mean, if she's wrestling, I'm not like a.
I don't know if I want to mess with her. Like, I want to stir the pot. What if she fights you after this?
I
Like,
think
what
a
if we're
baby
not
could
enough?
beat me in a wrestling match. So, no, my sister's a dancer, and so she's got
Oh well, she could fulfill
she's
both.
got muscle. I mean, she could definitely kick your ass, but don't just because she kicked my ass doesn't mean that that's why.
My favorite. Stop it. Tucker was just grabbing my leg. My favorite piece of wrestling, it actually is pretty recent. I love that show, Glow.
It's
boy,
so
oh,
good.
Boy, do I like Glow. I think it is funny, and Mark Maron crushes it in that series.
So funny, and he did a Netflix comedy special too. You should super watch it.
Yeah?
I cried. I was laughing so hard.
We've listened to his podcast for years in my house, and he's just a funny dude, and he's the perfect choice for that character, and
Yeah.
he really owns that role in Glow.
Yeah, he's neurotic and a little selfish and a little grizzled.
Just a
He's
little sleazy,
Yeah.
like
Oh, it's great. And if you ever watch the Glow documentary, he's very much like one of the characters from the real actual Glow.
I was talking to someone recently, and they said, "Oh, I love the show Glow." And I said, "Have you gone on YouTube and watched some clips from the old, from Glow?" And he says, "Oh no, was that really real?" And so I sent him on this YouTube wormhole, and he was like, "Oh my god, I have such a deeper appreciation for this program now because they did such a good job recreating this
yeah,
stuff."
absolutely.
All right. So again, September 22nd.
Yep, Prairie Brothers Brewing Company.
Okay, go and have a delicious beer while you're there. Don Kenna will appreciate that. And tickets online or at the door online if you don't want to face a sold-out sign. When you arrive there, buy yourself some merch. I imagine the woman who's going to be running the merch booth is a no games kind of lady who's
Yep.
been sitting here patiently waiting for her husband to finish with this stupid podcast.
I feel like
so he
she's
can get to his
supervising
chores.
us.
Mrs. Scotch will be there along with our buddy Casey selling all the items that you're going to definitely want to have to remember this event by. $12 $12, that's nothing. Mm-hmm. That's a
And
paltry
then
sum. That's
the
a drop in the
Valkyries
bucket.
will also have pasties, and
Shot glasses.
some of our merch out there as well. So you can
How do you
kinda-
choose your pasty?
Well,
Some of them, once you have the routine, it's like, okay, I need a pasty that looks like this, and then I think
sometimes you match with colors, and other times you match with shapes. Like you can have all different sorts of pasties.
Are
Like
you
I have.
buying these locally or
No,
is it
we
all
make
online?
them.
You make them?
Yeah.
What?
Can we have a whole other episode about pasties? 'Cause
Yeah,
that would be
Yeah.
fascinating.
I've always been. I really want to know because it's not something that's universal. It's not like
No.
one size fits all.
We 3D
And-
print different size bases, and then we'll make the pasties on top of that. We will either rhinestone on top or put like a
Fabric
craft foam
or-
over.
You guys are rocking my world.
Yeah.
Okay, well, listen, gang. That's the tease for the next time the Valkyries are on. We're going to talk about how they've used rapid prototyping technology to change the world of nipple covering.
And then we tape shit to our boobs.
The Pasty Podcast. Yeah.
All right. So, Scotch, Beau, Frisky, Holly, Mrs. Scotch, who really didn't say much on here, but took care of us, and Tucker. Thank you guys all for being on JJ Meets World this week, and we'll
And if we
see
didn't
you
name
guys.
drop, we should, of course, say Kettle and Sasha, also members of the Valkyries
Yes,
of the Valley, who couldn't
absolutely.
be here.
They
Because
are.
you guys are on the internets, right? People can
Yes.
find you.
Yes. Follow us on Facebook or Instagram or Twitter or
If you search the dark web, I'm sure you'd find something.
yeah.
And you can also you can find Frisk
Yes,
E business.
We each have our own profiles, so you could get a hold of us that way, or just get a hold of the Valkyries page.
Yep, all of our profiles can be linked through the Valkyries page. We have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat.
MySpace.
Oh gosh, I'm working on it.
Okay, yeah, it's hard to understand how
It
people
is.
did things back in 2002. All right, gang, thank you very much for being on JJ Meets World.
Thank you.
JJ Meets World.
That does it for this episode, folks. Thank you so much. Of course, we're going to make good on getting that copy of Bliss to that library that's been missing it for years. And the way we're doing that is we're using funds from our Patreon account. The folks who are supporting us, look at this. You've supported us, and now we're supporting a public library. Isn't that great? We're not going out and getting limousines and top hats. No. We're using this money and putting it right back into communities that deserve it. So if you'd like to give something to JJ Meets World, we sure appreciate it. Patreon.com/JJ Meets World. You can donate $1, $2, $5, $10, however much money you want to give. You can set up an ongoing donation, which is great. We've created over, how many hours is it? Over 60 hours of free content that's out there. And it's on Spotify. It's on iTunes. It's on Google Play, wherever you're consuming the podcast that you love. Plus, folks, we have a studio now. We have an actual studio that we're paying rent on. We have equipment that needs to be upgraded every couple of months because it gets pretty violent inside of these podcast studios. So every little bit helps. Patreon.com/JJ Meets World. And hey, by the way, leave us a review. That's also great. If you're going to Patreon, we appreciate that. We also appreciate a great review on iTunes. If you can leave us a review on Spotify, that goes a long way for us being able to convince bigger companies to sponsor our podcast, so we have to stop asking you for money. It's the same way a parent sets up a Kool-Aid stand. You go out and make money, and we don't want to have to give you any more for your Pac-Man video games. Speaking of Pac-Man video games, my Ms. Pac-Man to the JJ Meets World Empire is Mr. Tucker Lucas, the producer of every single episode of JJ Meets World. He is found online at moonbasemaria.com. Check it out. You watch videos, see the couple of videos where I'm dressed up like a giant baby. You're not going to be disappointed. If you want to get touch me directly in a non-weird way, you go to linebenders.com and you can find my mailing address, both physical and email. I guess that's going to do it for this episode. I was talking to someone the other day about buying finger paints, and after a while, somebody leaned over from another table and said, "Oh, you're buying finger paints? Well, listen, just so you know, finger paints can have a lot of toxic chemicals in them, so don't eat them." And I thought, what part of my conversation led this gentleman to believe I was going to eat the finger paints?